Fellow Ghanaians, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us here on Upfront on the Joy News channel. Well, it's Wednesday, the 2nd day of August 2023. Lots of issues happening in the country. I know there are many of you who are concerned about the Bank of Ghana. Of course, you're concerned about the loss of some 60.8 billion Ghana cedis. You've asked yourself the simple question, how? How did that happen? How come the Bank of Ghana has lost so much money? You've asked yourself, why would the Bank of Ghana allow government to lead it into such kind of a loss? Of course, you've also asked yourself about the question, the impact that this could have on the Ghanaian economy. I'm sure this morning, following these conversations, many of you may be okay, or maybe you're not. Well, we'll continue with the conversation. But also in Parliament, of course, on Monday, the Finance Minister presented the review of the 2023 budget. That's the media review of the 2023 budget. Where he reduced expenditure by some 21 billion Ghana cedis. And in Parliament, they've been debating that. But of course, one thing that we're concerned about this evening on Upfront is the state of security within ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West Africa. That is of importance to us because we know what has happened in Niger. Well, if you may not be aware, there has been a coup d'etat in Niger. New president in place, even though ECOWAS says we don't recognize the new president. That has not prevented them from continuing their stay in office. But this actually raises lots of questions. Is the West African sub-region becoming a safe haven for these coups d'etat? You also would ask yourself the simple question, who's shaping the narrative? And why is it so difficult for ECOWAS to stamp their feet on these coups d'etat? Of course, we've seen it in Guinea, we've seen it in Burkina Faso, it's happened in Mali, then it's happened in Niger. What does that mean for the sub-region going forward? That's a conversation we're having tonight on Upfront on the Joy News channel. My name is Winston Amoa, and when we return after these messages, I'll be introducing my guest. And once I introduce my guest, then we would continue with the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Kwajo, why are you late?
Yes, Kojo. Why are you late again?
Kwajo.
Can't you talk?
See, Mommy, I could lie like Amma and say I was doing my homework with my friends. Or lie like Amma and say I was helping Grandma buy food. Mommy, I will not lie like Amma. I was playing with my friends, and that is why I'm late.
Homework now. Thank you for not lying to me. Your Calipo is in the fridge.
Calipo, the natural fruit juice drink.
Abdi, you know that.
This advert is FDA.
Hello, my name is Abeku Agri Santana. If there's anything that makes my life so easy, it is my bank. I love hanging out with my boys at our usual fufu joint. But even without cash, we still dey chop better with EcoBank Mobile. No matter the time of day, my bank helps me stay in touch with my beautiful wife whenever she's away. And when my beautiful wife is in town, she never misses out on her favorite TV shows because I'm able to pay up all my TV subscriptions from the comfort of my mobile phone. Whenever she has to get groceries too, my bank makes it cashless and convenient. And the part my wife loves the most is when my bank makes it possible and easy for her to shop from any part of the world without moving.
Welcome to the smart world of EcoBank. Download EcoBank Mobile from Google Play Store or the App Store and discover the smart way to bank. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Joy News Desk. My name is Aisha Ibrahim.
Let me tell you, this is not a small job at all.
What can you report from the Fana community?
We are still sounding the alarm for people who are hiding to know that help has come. The board is supposed to be meeting this morning to deliberate on this nominee.
Yes, this problem has been recurring over time.
The people have invested the fruits of their excellence, and you want to throw it away because you think you can. No, it's not lawful for him to do it, period.
What's the basis that these financial assurances will be giving latest today?
If you follow what had transpired over the week, we got the information when the president addressed the May Day celebration, indicating that China is going to come on board.
She feels my head and it is hot. Are you all right? No. How can I when I'm not anyone's hero? My first failure occurred because I didn't listen to him. I wanted to go into the sciences.
Okay.
So, with my friends, we decided we were going to take the exam.
You believed so much in yourself.
I said I was going to do it and I was going to make it big. I fell flat on my face. Oh, don't tell me that's enough. Yes. Oh. I haven't put in that much salt.
Okay.
And pepper.
All right, so welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. You're on Upfront on the Joy News channel. So we've been talking about the situation in the West African sub-region, and we know that the Joint Commission of Chief of Defence Staff have been meeting as a result of the situation in Niger. Now, mind you, ECOWAS had indicated that, look, they do not recognize the military leader. They still believe that the president is one that they believe, or they indicate that they've overthrown. But the question really is, what has become of the peace and stability in the West African sub-region? Tonight we're joined by Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, who is Commissioner in charge of Political Affairs, Peace and Security at the ECOWAS Commission. Ambassador, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us. And Ambassador Fattah Musa joins us via Zoom. If you can unmute your Zoom. As the chiefs of staff, or chiefs of defense staff meet, the question really is, what decisions are they taking? What decisions are they arriving at? What are the options on the table? And would they consider military action, for instance? We find all of these from Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, who is Commissioner in charge of political affairs, peace and security at the ECOWAS Commission. But let me just share with you, for instance, the communique from the heads of state when they met to actually indicate their unhappiness about the situation. So as you can see on your screen, the ECOWAS Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff is holding an extraordinary meeting on the political situation in the Republic of Niger. And the Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff of the ECOWAS will meet in Abuja from today, the 2nd of August to the 4th of August, on the political situation. And the meeting follows the decision of the authority of the heads of state and government of their extraordinary session on the 30th of July in Abuja. Now, at that particular meeting, these were the agreements, okay? At that particular meeting, they agreed, for instance, let me just share bits and pieces of you. They resolved as follows: that affirm that His Excellency Mohamed Bazoum remains the legitimate elected president and head of state of the Republic of Niger, recognized by ECOWAS, the African Union, and the international community. In this regard, only official acts of President Bazoum or his duly mandated officials would be recognized by ECOWAS. Now, they condemned in the strongest terms the attempted overthrow of constitutional order in Niger and the illegal detention of His Excellency President Mohamed Bazoum, President and Head of State of Niger, as well as members of his family and government. And they call for the immediate release and reinstatement of President Mohamed Bazoum as President and Head of State of the Republic of Niger, and for the full restoration of constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. And they also reject any form of resignation that may purportedly come from His Excellency President Mohamed Bazoum. And they consider the illegal detention of President Bazoum as a hostage situation and hold the authors of the attempted coup d'etat solely and fully responsible for the safety and security of His Excellency President Mohamed Bazoum. I don't know if we have Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa on Zoom right now. If we could go back to him and have a conversation on, what they make of the current situation. Okay, so let's get in touch with Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa now. Ambassador, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for having me.
Great. I mean, we're glad that you've made time to join us this evening. I'm sure this will be very difficult moments for you, particularly as Commissioner in charge of political affairs, peace and security of the ECOWAS Commission, bearing in mind that over the last 2 years, there's been multiple coup d'etats. What's happening?
Yes, it's rather very unfortunate, right? The Economic Community of West African States, that's ECOWAS, used to be the poster boy of regional economic communities that were the best regarded, in the world. That is ECOWAS, the ECOWAS in the 1990s, what we did, trying very hard to stop civil wars, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and others, and then overseeing the gradual installation of democracy in West Africa. Almost all countries in West Africa have democratically elected president, and then coming in the region, that in the past 3 years or so, we've had about 8 successful and unsuccessful coups in the West Africa, region. The reasons are multifaceted, and and I think this is what we have to look at. Terrorism has implanted itself in our sub-region, and as you are in Accra, you know the situation of refugees in the northern part of Ghana today. Benin is being targeted, Togo is targeted, Cote d'Ivoire is targeted. So terrorism is descending toward the coastal states of the Gulf of Guinea. That is one. There is an issue of governance and all that. We've already had the whole of the Central Sahel Belt, being ruled by military juntas, right from the coastal state of Senegal, all across Burkina Faso, Mali, now Niger, and then we Chad, all the way. Sudan is also boiling. That is that belt. And this is what is happening. There is the issue of climate change, intercommunal violence that has dealt a major blow, the youth bulge in the region, and of course, deficits, governance deficits in all this region. There is a whole combination, of factors that are happening, but I doubt whether that is a reason to overthrow democratically elected government, because the military that have taken over from the civilian administration are not doing any better job of the security situation than under the civilian administrations in the region. So this is what I will say. We have moved from being about the best regional organization to among a place where the epidemic of coup d'etats now defines the West Africa sub-region, which is quite unfortunate and, very unfortunate for the region. And this is what we need to reverse.
Terrorism and all, but you've talked about governance deficits. What are these governance deficits that you have identified?
Yes. Look, if you look at what it is, right? Democracy, by and large, on the continent, and you are not talking about West Africa alone, it has been reduced to electoral processes. Elections are not democracy. Elections are a path to democracy. Okay. Democracy means delivering on the basic needs of the people. But we see democracy in the region, generally, just as elections. So government actually see elections as their main goal instead of development and then other. That is a major issue in our region. And because of insecurity and others, many of these governments in the region are moving away from the periphery toward the center. Lack of development, abject poverty in the periphery of our member states. Listen, Niger that we are talking about today produces 7% of uranium in the world. France depends on uranium. 70% of its energy comes from uranium. But look at the situation of Niger itself. Niger is about the second to last in the UN Human Development Index. So there is no correlation between the wealth of our countries and the well-being of the people. And definitely this leads to trust deficits. It leads to a collapse of the social contract between the people and their government. And of course, with terrorism from Libya, whether it is from the Middle East and other things, adding to this problem, playing on inter-ethnic division, playing on climate issues in our region, the difference between farmers, herders, and others, and then putting themselves in the middle of it, and then some ethnic groups being seen naturally as supporters of jihadism or terrorism, increasing the breakdown of the social cohesion in our sub-region. All these are factors that have led to what we are seeing today in the region. So when I talk about the governance deficit, there is a continual breakdown of the social contract between the people and the rule, because they don't see the dividends of democracy. That is one.
Okay.
Main factor.
Great. Now, these things you talk about, I'm sure you may have shared them with the heads of state, right?
Absolutely. ECOWAS always, talks about the situation of the economic development, the regional economic integration, and other things at all major fora of the ECOWAS heads of state and government.
Now, why is it difficult for the ECOWAS heads of state, since you've told them these things, to actually implement them for the safety of the sub-region?
It is easier said than done, because the West Africa region is not an island. When you talk about global development, you might have heard people talking about the impact of the war in Ukraine, the impact of global warming, with the Secretary General of the United Nations today describing as global boiling, on the fabric of our sub-region. The Sahel region in particular, where all these coups are taking place, bear the brunt of climate change in the world today. They are the least, contributor to this climate change, but they bear the brunt of it. It is not just based on what they can do, it is what the international community can do. So there are things that do not depend on the region itself. There are esoteric factors. But internally, we also have to talk about that, these are clearly deficits, is that we need to redefine democracy in our sub-region. That democracy just equate to elections, or there should be development. The issue that I would want to put forward, here at this, discussion is that when you look at it, in between elections, there is very little going on in many of our member states in the region. So it is like government are focused on winning elections, staying in power, but doing very little in between. And the population are getting fed up. They are angry, they are annoyed because they vote and their votes do not count, simply because basic well-being, just the basic infrastructure, education for their children, electricity, basic food, and others, and they are not having it. And Niger is a
Ambassador
of it.
Ambassador, while you make the point, you're saying that these are things that they're supposed to do. You're talking about esoteric factors. But if you are Niger and you produce uranium, if you are Niger and France depends on your uranium, if you are Niger, you produce lots of onions, for instance, for export. If you are Niger and huge percentage of your population is in darkness, why can't you use the very resources that you export to transform the lives of your people? Why? Where's the difficulty?
Yeah, your question is apt. The issue is, does Niger determine the price of its uranium? That is the question. What does it receive?
But Niger can determine. But Niger can determine the usage of its uranium, can't it?
Oh, it is not as simple as you are putting it. If you look at the opposition in many of the countries in the Sahel region towards France, is because if you have gone into the history of French colonialism and post-independent West Africa, there is something we call the colonial pact, where the negotiations are so one-sided that you take it or leave it. What the colonial power says is what you have to adopt. This is what most of the people in the Francophone West Africa, the Sahel in particular, because you have realized that most of the turbulence that we are seeing in West Africa today comes from some of the Francophone countries. People are rejecting the colonial order, what they call the France-Afrique, what they call the domination of France over their rulers, their decisions, and others. All right, this is what the people are kicking against. So, and the cleft, okay, where France depends on uranium for 70% of its energy needs, and 7% of uranium is Niger. Meanwhile, that does not transfer the places where uranium is being produced.
Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, I think you may have to.
In Arlit, where Areva is producing its uranium. That's it.
Okay, so we lost you at a point. We lost you at a point, but let me just come in at this point and ask a very simple question. So you have identified the problem, and you would agree that countries going individually would not be strong enough to negotiate out of these colonial pacts. What is ECOWAS doing to get these countries out of these colonial pacts to ensure the safety of the sub-region? Ambassador Musa, can you hear me? Hello, Ambassador Musa. Well, this is Upfront on the Joy News channel.
Listen, ECOWAS have got...
yes, but before you continue... Yes, I can hear you now, so if you can start all over again.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you if you could start all over again.
I can hear you, but it seems like I have lost you.
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So what I'm saying is that ECO is in constant negotiation with the Union because most of the countries that have got influence in West Africa are members of the European Union. Dialogue, agrees with the European Union just for the purpose of changing that dynamic. West Africa is the producer of raw materials. There is zero infrastructure. That's that West African countries. And we are raising the issue with the European Union. And today it's not only the EU. West Africa and Africa as a whole is an arena of polarity that we have. It's just not even multilateralism. It is multipolarity that we have today. So ECOWAS and member states are discussions with all the powers in the world, whether you are talking about China, the Middle Eastern countries, the US, the European Union, also about putting their interest, the interests of the region first and foremost, and not the interests of the colonial powers that ruled over West Africa for a very long time, even after independence. So this work is going on, and I must inform you that the resistance that you see in much of West Africa today is a product of that, because the ordinary people do not want to live the way that grandparents and fathers lived, want a change. We are constantly reminding our partners that things cannot go on as they were before. You have to change the paradigm, and others. And if it does not change, and anti-European feelings that will be swelling in the region. So these are some of the issues we put across, and I think, to be fair to our partners, I think gradually they are realizing that things cannot go on as they were before, but we just hope, that this will translate into very concrete changes that will transform the lives of the population.
I mean, Ambassador Musa, listening to you, it sounds more like you are powerless, sort of. It sounds more like, you're relying on the benevolence of another body. You're trying to negotiate with the EU. You're telling them how you're worse off. Should that be the way to go?
Not at all. And that is not what I meant to convey. What I am saying is that West Africa and Africa as because Africa, pound for pound, is the richest continent on earth. And there is no reason why the continent should be impoverished, to the level that we have. What I am saying is that in international relations, your key objective is to actually fight for what is best for your interest. And that is why I mentioned the situation of multipolarity in the world today, that European unions are not the sole partner of African countries. They are spoiled for choice, whether from the Middle East, you're talking about Turkey, you're talking about United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, you're talking about China, you're talking about Russia, and then you got the whole West, also the transition of the continent. What
we're having some challenges. We're having some challenges with your connectivity.
The pace of partners is not.
Please hold on for me, Ambassador Musa. Ambassador Musa, if you could please hold on, Ambassador. I think we're having a bit of challenges with your connectivity. We'll try and work it out. This evening we're joined by Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, who is Commissioner Political Affairs, Peace and Security at the ECOWAS Commission. We're having a conversation. He started by talking about, the challenges that we're faced with. He's talked about how, for instance, we have governance deficit. And these governance deficits stem from the fact that a lot of the countries in Africa practice what we have termed electoral democracy. And so, after elections, that's the end of it. And many of the African states don't focus so much on the development. We'll try and rectify the connection. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll try and rectify the connectivity, and then we'll continue with the conversation with Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa.
She feels my head, and it is hot. Are you all right? No. How can I when I'm not anyone's hero? My first failure occurred because I didn't listen to him. I wanted to go into the sciences.
Okay.
So, with my friends, we decided we were going to take the exam.
You believe so much in yourself.
I said I was going to do it and I was going to make it big. I fell flat on my face. Oh, don't tell me that's enough. Yes.
Oh.
I haven't put in that much salt and pepper.
If this is Connect Africa with me, Blessed Sugan, welcome to our program. We have updates on the elections taking place in Sierra Leone.
There had been some attack around the opposition's office, and this was because they prematurely announced results, which both parties technically did.
And what is the cost of political unrest in the West Africa sub-region?
The preponderance of illicit activities resulting from easy access to small arms is causing a lot of havoc across the region.
5 countries. How are you going to work with them?
It is one of the few cases where we have the countries themselves agreeing to do it and calling on ECOWAS to act on their behalf.
There is a DNA testing, the process of DNA of 17 students who were banned beyond recognition. So at the moment, there is some uncertainty. Some of the parents think, hey, is my kid part of those that were banned beyond recognition, the 17?
Every human being has the right to a livable world. And to secure that livable world, all the rich nations and all the international financial organizations must transform the standard of doing business.
What beats my mind is how this little child thought that the only solution was suicide and knew how to do it. This is 7-year-old.
It's looking like we are getting 2 or 3 cases every month. Sometimes we get up to 4 or 5 cases in a month. And that is quite serious.
How do I acquire a litigation-free land or property in this country? Should I buy a house or go through the building process? If I should buy, what are the critical stages and pitfalls? If I should build, how do I get started? Registration of land, who can help me? Can I just draw my own plan and build? What are the steps in getting a building permit? Rising cost of building materials. Any other options? These artisans seems to be ripping me off my money. What can I do? For this and other building-related issues, join Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah on The Pyramid Show every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on your favorite channel, Joy News Television.
The second clinic of the 2023 edition of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair promises to excite patrons in many ways. The West Hills Mall will host all relevant players in the housing and construction industry in Ghana from Friday 4th to Sunday 6th August 2023 from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. This year's exhibition is under the theme Home Ownership, Affordability, Comfort or Luxury. Visit the clinic and engage the providers in the housing value chain on all your housing needs, be it financing, land acquisition, rent to own, outright purchase, roofing, lighting, electronic appliances, home security, or home furnishing. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is your one-stop shop for everything housing. To register as an exhibitor, please call 0244-260-653. There will be daily giveaways by the sponsors to visitors at the fair. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Project from Cities and Habitats. Rent to own, and sponsored by Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited, where quality meets value. Syntex tanks, a strong, a tough. EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Affordability, comfort, or luxury.
She fills my head, and it is hot. Are you all right? No. How can I when I'm not anyone's hero? My first failure occurred because I didn't listen to him. I wanted to go into the sciences.
Okay.
So, well, with my friends, we decided we were going to take the exam.
You believed so much in yourself.
I said I was going to do it and I was going to make it big. I fell flat on my face. Oh, don't tell me that's enough. Yes. Oh. I haven't put in that much salt.
Okay.
And pepper.
What beats my mind is how this little child thought that the only solution was suicide and knew how to do it. This is 7-year-old.
It's looking like we are getting 2 or 3 cases every month. Sometimes we get up to 4 or 5 cases in a month. And that is quite serious.
How do I acquire a litigation-free land or property in this country? Should I buy a house or go through the building process? If I should buy, what are the critical stages and pitfalls? If I should build, how do I get started? Registration of land, who can help me? Can I just draw my own plan and build? What are the steps in getting a building permit? Rising cost of building materials. Any other options? These artisans' craft seems to be ripping me off my money. What can I do? For this and other building-related issues, join Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah on The Pyramid Show every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on your favorite channel, Joy News Television.
A fifth of the babies who come in will end up dying.
This is impactful journalism, the storytelling that stretches your imagination and shines a light on the underreported issues.
Normally, if you talk, that will change people. Let them see it.
This is impactful journalism. It is fearless, independent journalism that reshapes thoughts and crushes stereotypes.
But I had no more strength in me again. The person must be made to know that what you have done, yes, it would have deserved murder.
This is impactful journalism. It provides context and meaning to the different perspectives.
Children are born with sin, and therefore if you don't baptize them and they die as children, then they will go to hell. This is funny.
This is impactful journalism. It provides context and meaning to the different perspectives. This is Joy News Hotline Documentaries, compelling stories changing the status quo.
This is our front on the Joy News channel. Unfortunately, we're still having some issues with Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, who is Commissioner of Political Affairs, Peace and Security at the ECOWAS Commission. We're having some challenges with connectivity, but I know there are many of you who are interested in this conversation. Of course, we are also interested in the conversation. He's raised issues about the governance deficit in West Africa. We promise we'll try and rearrange this and bring it back to you. Unfortunately, because of the issues with connectivity, that's the end of today's edition of Upfront on the Joy News channel. My name is Winston Amma. We apologize for everything. We promise that we'll try and rearrange it and have the conversation later on. Make time with us tomorrow evening. Thank you very much for staying with us.